Hey guys, 22 Soulful. You may remember I had gotten a lot of these panels into last year. These are little 10-watt panels. So I got, I believe, 9 of them, maybe 10. I forgot the exact amount. Anyways, still have 4 of them left over, and I'm going to mount them all on this piece of wood here, this scrap piece of wood. I'm going to cut it in half. That's a 2x4, so I'm going to cut it straight down the center all the way down to the end. It's approximately, I don't know, 10 feet maybe. Got to beat all the nails out of it and make it into a 2x2, so that's going to be the frame for the mounting the panels. So let's go and get started with it. I'm going to get all the nails out of it and then cut it down straight all the way down the center to the end of it, and have me a couple long 2x2s. So let's go and get to it. Alright, so this being recycled, it's going to have a lot of nails in it, but we'll beat them out the best we can. Hopefully we're able to get them all out. Well, I'll probably just cut that straight off there. As bad as it is to lose the length. That's just, hopefully you guys can see there. The wood splitting a good bit around the nails. I just don't want to risk that. So move on to these. We can get most of these nails out. We'll pull them all out off camera once I get most of them beaten out. Alrighty. Still in focus. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm going to pull the nails out off camera and show you the piece of wood here. And the thing about using recycled wood whenever you're building projects, you're going to have holes in it, but you know, it's free. I already had it laying around from another project, so ain't a big deal. So this nail right here, head of it came off, so have to take some pliers and hopefully try to pull that one out. So let's get the pliers for him. There we go. Got that out with no problem. Alright, got the last little bit of nails there. Go and pop them out with my hammer, hopefully. Hopefully none of these other nails are going to break. These look like they're coming out pretty easy. Ooh. I don't know if you see, that one's taking up some wood there. That's another thing. Want to make sure you don't lose your nails, because that'd be bad if it got inside a car tire or any tire for that matter. Last thing you want to do is cause more work for yourself. Ooh, that one. It's in there pretty good. Some of these get pretty tight if they've been in here for a while, and you see all these nails here are rusted up, so it makes them harder to get out of wood. There we go. Alright, so the last thing we got to do is cut off this chunk here with all the nails that's all cracked up. Then we just got to cut our wood straight down the center. Alright, let's go and cut off that piece there. Now, you really don't have to be super precise. As long as it cuts off all the nails, it's really all that matters. Preferably if you could get past the cracks here, which zoom in there. See the cracks in the wood? They come out to be about right here at the furthest. So we need to try to cut roughly right there. So that little mark I made there with my fingernail. So let's go and cut it. Alright, so we got the piece with all the nails out. let's go ahead and mark our line here, which is going to be off camera, and then we'll cut it straight down the center. Alright, so you probably can't see my line anyways, because with the wood's gray like that, it's kind of hard to see your line that you make with your pencil. But anyways, we'll go ahead and cut some of it here. Keep in mind, when you're doing this with a circular saw, you really gotta be careful not to cut off any of your fingers. So I like to hold the wood in front here and cut all the way across, making sure no fingers are even close to the blade. So let's go and start. Okay, so you see it's going pretty well. Zoom in on the cut down there. See, it's pretty good. Just a little note, if you're cutting a 2x4 in half, 2x4s really aren't 4 inches anymore. They're more like 3.5, so half of that is like about 1 3/4 inches. It's pretty close to half, so as you see, it's pretty close to straight down the center. So alright, I'm gonna cut it all the way down to the very end of it, then we'll show you the 2x2s that we made. Alright, so I got the 2x4 cut all the way down in 2 strips here, so we now have our 2x2s looking pretty good. So we got the wood cut. Now all we gotta do is cut it to length and measure it and everything for our solar panels. Okay, so we should measure our panel first, see how many inches it is, and this one is, hopefully probably not able to see it, it's 16.5 inches. So we need to double that to find our length as far as the length of the poles. So we're going to double that 16.5. We're going to round up to 17 because I'm going to have an extra inch of clearance anyways. So 17 times 2 is, let's see, 34. So our lengths of wood needs to be 34 inches long. So let's go and cut them. Alright, so I got one piece measured out to 34 inches. Go ahead and put our mark on it right here. You can actually see the pencil this time. Use our little speed square. Go ahead and make that nice and square like that. Let's go and make our cut. Just like that, guys, we got it. Just take off the little splinter there. So let's go ahead and cut our other 34-inch piece. Alrighty. Okay, so we now have both of our length or long pieces cut for 34 inches. Now we're going to have to make the short pieces that's going to hold the top and bottom of the zoom out here, the top and bottom of the solar panel frame. Okay, so we need to measure our width here. It is at 10.5 inches, you see there. Here, let's do it like this. Arm's not in the way. Alright, so you see it's at 10.5 inches. So once again, I'm going to allow an extra inch. So we're going to round up to 11. 11 times 2 is 22 inches. So we need to cut our 2 width pieces at 22 inches long. Alright, so you see, got my wood marked here for 22 inches. Go and make the cut. Okay, so we got one of our width pieces here cut. Let's go ahead and do the other one. Okay, so I got the main pieces cut for the frame here. So we're going to go ahead and lay it out into the shape that we're wanting to get. And then we could cut our center long strip, which is currently length is unknown because I'm not quite sure how long we're needing to cut it until I go ahead and nail the 4 pieces here together, get me a rectangle. Okay, so here's the basic structure of it. What I'm needing to know now is I'll have to, once I get this completely nailed up together, I'm going to have me a center strip going all the way down the center there so I could bolt my little solar panels onto. So I got to get this completely nailed up together, which is going to be done off camera for the sake of the length of the video, and then we're going to go ahead and cut our center strip here. Alright, so I got my frame nailed up there. Now I just got to measure the inside center there and get the measurement and cut my third strip, and then we'll nail it in place. Alright, so we got it completely nailed up. We got the frame secure and made. Now I did use some Gorilla Glue on the joints there. So you see there's some glue residue dripping out on all my nailed joints, all 6 of them up there. Even right up there you probably see maybe some glue residue there. All 6 of the joints, so all the nailed places, all the places where I nailed, put some Gorilla Glue in it just to help, because that Gorilla Glue is some really good wood glue. So we got the frame built. Now we just gotta attach the panels. Hey guys, I apologize for the background noise. The neighbors doing some weed eating, but there's the panels. They're just sitting on it right now, just to get an idea how it's going to look. I'm going to put some screws in between the cracks there. Maybe you can see the wood deep inside, but anyways, you got the center strip there. There it is. That's what I'm going to be screwing these panels onto. In the center there, I'll probably have me a large washer and a screw, and as well as on the sides of the panel, put some screws up there on the very top with the wood sticking out. Do the same with that as well as on bottom, so it's going to be doing pretty good. Alright, so I got some washers here and some old sheet metal screws I'm going to be using to secure it. So I'm going to be using a drill, but I'm going to be very, very careful not to tighten them too much, because you know, panels, they're made of glass, so they could easily crack. So I'm going to be very gentle with it. So I'm doing it, the little washer that's on the sheet metal screw is too small, so I'm using another washer just to help secure it down. So let's go ahead and tighten it up. We're going to start here with this one here in the center. Actually, since we know where it's going to be at, we're just going to go ahead and... Alright, so we got our hole made up there for the screw. Actually, it'd be better if you went ahead and, what do you call it, went ahead and drilled your little pilot hole for it. It wouldn't be quite as risky like how I'm doing it, but it'll be okay. Just gotta be extra careful not to over tighten these. Won't be a problem, because I'm going, now I got my hole drilled, I'm going to turn my speed all the way down, so no matter how fast I go, it won't be super fast. Just like that, not too tight or anything. So that's good. Now we're going to move up here in the middle here. Same way. Actually, we're going to keep the drill on slow, and maybe we could go ahead and start our hole in here. Okay, that actually worked out good. So we got those pretty secure. Let's change it up, kind of scrunch the panels together a little bit. There we go. So that's pretty good right there. Okay, so we got 2 of them there. Let's do a couple here on, well, set in camera for your focus. Nope. Okay, we're gonna move our camera up and do this one right here. Well, you know what, we probably ought to do our top panels first, get it nice and secured down. So we'll move on to the tops. Zoom in a little bit. There we go. Try to get these somewhat close, so hopefully, if my plan works, I put one right here in the center of the little square and secure all 4 of them down. Okay, so we got our washer on here. Just like that. Not super duper tight, because like I said, the last thing you want to do is crack it. You could always come back with a ratchet or a wrench and come back and tighten them up. But once it's cracked, you know, it's cracked, it's over with that. It'd be better for it to be too loose than too tight. So it's working out okay. My plan here is doing pretty good. Alright, let's drop down here to the middle. Go ahead and do it. Anyways, I'm going to finish this up off camera, then we'll get started. Okay, so anyways, I decided not to do the ones on bottom because it's actually pretty secure just like that. So we got the panels completely mounted on it. It's pretty good. Okay, so a lot of you guys know in my system I use regular house wiring, so I'm going to be putting this female plug on these solar panels here. So that's just the plug I'm going to be using. They're going to be soldered together. So I got my wire stripper, some heat shrink, and a wire cutter. So of course soldering iron and solder. So just thought I'd mention that's going to be the plug I'll be using because it's cheap, easy to get. I could add a regular house extension cord without having to alter it if I needed more length. So yeah, that's going to be the plug I'll be using. Okay, so I stripped back all my cables here, probably 1.5 inches to 2 inches. So you see I got all 4 of them stripped back. Now we're just going to strip back the black and white conductors here. So, and yeah, I am going to keep all this extra length here just in case, because it's better to have too much wire than to cut it short than use these panels for something else and wish you hadn't cut it. So yeah, I am keeping all the extra length. I'm just going to tie it up, make it all nice. So let's go and strip back all my conductors here. So there we go. Strip back all my grounds and my power wires. So I'm stripping them all back at once just to make it easier when I'm actually soldering. Roughly, see right there, about 3/4 of an inch, 3/4 inch, 1/2 inch to 3/4. So it's pretty good. Now here, it's just my regular extension cord. Which, can I strip it with this? Probably not. Yeah, I got get my knife to cut back some of this insulation. So be right back. All right, so I got my knife. Go and strip back some of this orange insulation. Cut back a little more of it. Alright. So how I had it wired up with the plug, these two right here, the flat ones on top, those were power wires, and I had a dedicated ground, one ground wire. Since I'm using 16 gauge wire, probably best I do it like that anyway, so I have no power droppage. As far as the ground a little more forgiving as far as trying to keep your voltage up. But even with this, you see 16 gauge on these panels. Let's see if I can find the exact size. It looks like it's maybe 20. Let's see, kind of worn off. 18. Don't know if you can see that. Probably not. It's kind of hard to see. Sun kind of faded, but I believe that says 18. Kind of hard to see. But yeah, I'm using 16 gauge wire for 4 panels. So, and I'm having them 2 16 gauge conductors like that, which really makes it closer to 12 gauges roughly. So. Alright, let's get the soldering iron warmed up so we can go ahead and make these solder joints. Okay, so before we go much further, make sure you got you some heat shrink over your wires. I'm just going to start out with the power side for now. And go ahead and twist up all your power wires together. So get all your power wires. Get this other one and twist them all up. So I got them all twisted, as you see. Let's bring that camera down a little. Got them all twisted up, all my power wires. Ground wires, we'll worry about them when we're actually doing them. So I'm going to go ahead and tin these wires and twist these all up together here. Give us a good solder joint. Alright, so I got all my wires twisted up there. Let's go ahead and make the solder connection. Gotta get the flux, then we'll be set up to make the solder joint. Okay, let's go ahead and make the connection here. Hopefully my heat shrink won't melt. I'll be surprised if it don't, because that's a good bit of wires here. Pretty thick, so we're gonna have to use a lot of solder here. Make sure it flows evenly throughout all these wires to ensure a good connection. Alright, just like that. Got us a good clean solder joint there. Looks like our heat shrink's starting to melt a little bit, but worst thing will happen, we'll have to electrical tape it, but I'll try to get that heat shrink over it. Well, it was a fight, but I finally got the heat shrink over it, so let's go ahead and heat it up and get a good connection. I mean, a good watertight solder joint there. Okay. So we got that one done. Now we just need to do the ground. Alright, so we got the ground wires twisted up with my heat shrink on. So let's go ahead and solder it into place. Hopefully our heat shrink won't melt this time, but we'll see. It's real important to get a good amount of solder on there. Let's do a little bit more with it. Once you get it hot enough, it's really easy, even with aluminum wires, to take the solder. Okay, so apparently my heat shrink is still going to melt anyways. Put that on there just for a little heat sink. Okay, so I'm going to have to fight to get this heat shrink on it too, but anyway, you got a good solder joint there. Let me get that heat shrink on. Okay, got that heat shrink on. Let's go ahead and heat it up. Now this heat shrink, you could always use electrical tape, but it's not going to be quite as watertight as a heat shrink will. So if you have the heat shrink tube, and I highly suggest using it. Something to note, it's about 90 degrees right now, and it is perfectly lined up directly with the sun. So we got the right angle, 45 degrees, and a good straight line up with the sun. Alright, so we're going to test the amps first. So let's go ahead and stick my leads here. 2.47. That's the right amount of amps, because remember this is a 40 watt panel, so it should be about 2.5 to 3. 2.46, 47. Now let's swap over and do the volts here. I can get my leads right. There we go. So the volts is 19 19.1. So that's actually exactly 40 watts. You do the math with it. 19 times 2.47. You could calculate that yourself. That's like right at 40, right at 40 watts. So this is indeed putting out the correct amount for 40 watts, which is really good. Now this one I'll probably leave out 24/7 uncovered, simply because it does have a metal frame, and I'm confident that it's a lot more weather resistant than the Harbor Freight kit up there, which has plastic frame around the solar panels, which I don't really like, not a huge fan of. But since these are metal frames, I think we'll be good with this. Even like the 85 watt panel, thought about leaving it out, but yeah, I just changed my mind about that. So, but this one's going to be left out all the time for sure. That one will be left out whenever I feel that, or that will be uncovered whenever I choose. But this one's going to be left out for sure. So, yeah, there you guys go. Got any questions? Feel free to comment. That's the testing of the DIY 40 watt solar panel. Thank you for watching.